Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. The other way. Let's check it out.
No, you were good because you came out with a good positive thing for us, for our relationship. So I need to give you a big hug.
Thank you.
Okay. I mean, that says something, right? And it was nice that, I don't know if I included it, but Randy said, do you forgive us for outing you, essentially? And he's all smiles. He's, oh my God, thank you. You really helped us. Yeah.
I know it's a big deal to tell them everything like right away, and don't know like basically what will happen or what will come out.
Yeah.
But for now, like I'm happy for the present time.
Yeah, I think on the positive side, if we give him the benefit of the doubt, he's saying, I don't know what my mom's going to do. I don't know what the rest of my family is going to do. And I don't know how we're going to work out this thing about me not living in the house with them because I'm the primary caretaker of this family. So there's still a lot. Okay, maybe he's in that space. Or he's like, I wasn't really wanting to do this. Even I wanted to stay in that limbo space like Sumit did. Because, there's a part of Sumit that absolutely loved being in that limbo space because he could have his cake and eat it too. He could have his parents believe that he wasn't going to be with Jen, and he could also have his relationship with Jen. So some of these fellas, I think, they want to stay in that zone while everyone, especially the Jens and the Jennies, Jen and Jenny, suffer. So I don't know which one. I guess we'll find out.
Little nervous because I hide a big secret from them. So I think my mom and my uncle will be disappointed with me.
अब अचानक ये चीज़ें सामने आ रही है एकदम से तो आदमी के एकदम घातक तो लगता ही है ना.
Yeah. Now, maybe Rishi has reasons to hide this secret from them. But yeah, 3 years hiding a secret from the family, especially as close I think they live together, right? That'd be really hurtful.
ऋषि 3 साल से रिश्ते के लिए मना कर रहा था. ऋषि ने भी इस बारे में कुछ भी नहीं बताया है कि भाई मेरा जैन से ये है, कोई बात करता हूँ.
दिल ही बैठ गया मेरा तो. अपने को तो नहीं पता था इस बात का.
But honestly, outing him in this way doesn't change that. And also, even if he never told the parents, or even if he did eventually, the mom and the uncle would have eventually watched the show, presumably, or someone they knew would have watched the show and told them, he's been lying to you for 3 years. Now, maybe Rishi's like, well, if I would have told them and then da-da-da. But the fact that he's been lying by omission to his family for 3 years, that is just on him. And again, maybe it was necessary, maybe there's a reason there, I don't know.
ऋषि जवाब दे यार.
48 साल की है.
48 15-16 साल बड़ी है.
16 साल इतना डिस्पेंस. अपना तो इधर राजस्थान में छोटी लाते हैं भाई. No.
Okay, so yeah, it makes sense that the mom and uncle would be polite in front of the cameras and in front of Jen and these guests in their home. And now looks like we're back to Summitville.
हर चीज का सोचना पड़ता है.
और लोग भी तो करते ही ना, जो लोग मतलब और लोगों के एज में भी तो डिफरेंस होता ही है.
इतना डिफरेंस थोड़ी होता है और लोगों के एजों में कहीं इतना
करते हैं तो उधर के लोग करते होंगे भाई. अपने हिंदुस्तान में तो कोई नहीं करता.
Oh, it's done in India. Bigger age gaps than that. May I present Exhibit A, Jenny and Sumit? It is done in India. I mean, at least once.
हृदय में एक तरीके से घात.
बड़ी तो अपना लाना ही नहीं चाहते हैं. अपने राजस्थान में आती ही नहीं है बड़ी.
बराबर की भी होती तो हम सोचते, कुछ समझते.
लेकिन इतनी बड़ी तो नहीं चलती है भाई.
सब लोग हंसी उड़ाएंगे, सब बात करेंगे.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, this certainly was what I thought. It's always weird because when we met the family, they seemed pleasant and reasonable, which of course is independent from a cultural mandate that apparently is along these lines. And we all understand that not everyone in India is like this, but there's apparently enough of them that we've seen 2 on the show. And so, yeah, are we going to watch another 10 years of being in limbo with these 2? I mean, it'll certainly get us all riled up, right? Watching Rishi do the summit. Yeah. The parents are talking in the same, saying the same things that Summit's parents were saying. But this is worrisome.
किसी को पूछने का तो मेरे को मन ही नहीं है कि इतनी बड़ी वही बता करके और पूछूं। कोई भी तैयार नहीं होगा, समझ लिया?
Okay, so we understand now why Rishi would be afraid of telling his parents, telling his mom, and at the very least why he would go into denial maybe. Because it's like, or why he would consult an astrologer to really try to, in his view, his worldview, try to really game the system as best he can. But I don't know. I could see, given the way that he's acting and has acted, I could see him arriving on that auspicious day of August 2nd and not telling the mom. We'll never know, of course, because Jen and friends didn't allow him to be tested in that way. But yeah, and it's hard for me to relate to, but I think for Rishi, he might be thinking this will never work. Not only marrying Jen, but I was thinking that I could marry Jen and convince her to live with my family because that's the only way this is going to work. And I don't know. It just makes you wonder, like, what? You just break up, start over, and rethink your dating behaviors. Like, stop DMing people in other cultures that you don't know anything about. There's plenty of people in cultures that don't have things like this that would be fine with their son marrying Jen. And, why not pursue those people? I don't know. I don't want to be flippant about they love each other. They want to be together. But it just seems, I don't know. It just seems so doomed. Because we know from Sumit what goes on in his mind, right? We could take guesses as to where, what's going on with Rishi and what sort of a bind that he is in. Being in love with Jen, wanting to be with her. But also, he cannot disappoint his family. He cannot do that. And he knows that the mom is telling the truth, that everyone will ridicule not only him and Jen, but also the mom and everyone will ridicule the entire family. He's causing suffering for everyone. And I want to point out, like I did so many times with the Jenny and Sumit videos, can there not be some flexibility? There are things worthy of shaming people of. Murder, theft, harming others. Sure. Shaming 2 consenting adults for falling in love? It just, in my cultural lens, it just makes 0 sense to do that.
इस बात पे तो बिल्कुल मेरी तरफ से तो ना.
Feels like I lost everything. I lost every hope, and I'm feeling that I broke from head to toe.
And this is all lending itself. I'm so glad we were revealed this data because more explains, I think, his shady behavior, that he has learned that in order for him to be happy, he has to lie, not only to his mom, but to everyone in his family all the time. He has to lie all the time, straight to their face, and probably before Jen, right? So he knows lying is an option, and often the best option, and it's okay to do that. It's the way the world works. And with Jen, he was doing that too, seemingly. I don't know. Because eventually we were going to get here, right? If Rishi August 2nd, do we really think that that would have changed the mom's point of view miraculously? That somehow, because two planets in relation to the view of the Earth cross paths in the sky, that somehow would completely change the mom's cultural understandings of everything and everyone around them? Suddenly, the skies open up and they are Americanized for a day? No. So this was going to happen if Rishi was telling the truth. And he was saying over and over again, I'm going to tell my mom, I'm going to tell my mom, I'm going to tell my mom. So, because, I think there's this temptation to blame Jen and friends. And certainly, like I was saying earlier, they should have, in my view, from a moral standpoint, gone to Rishi and said, look, we're about to just blast you and out you to your mom, but we want to give you one last chance. You gotta tell her now. Either they're gonna accept it or they're not. It's August 2nd. It doesn't have anything to do with it. And, and it would be Jen saying that to Rishi, not the friends overstepping, which, I think that's fine. I think Jen could have said that, and Jen could have said, look, I'm out. If you don't do it, I'm out. I'm leaving. So you tell him now or I'm gone. And then you just kind of know your answer. If he's not willing to do it, then either he doesn't love you and doesn't want to be with you, or two, their family is so different and so rigid and so against you that it will never work. So it's better to just leave. So they should have done that. They didn't. So I don't think that's okay that they just bulldozed like that and just outed him. Because God knows what consequences could have happened to Rishi. They don't know. They just know that Rishi is tentative about telling his family. But maybe something bad could happen that Rishi knows about and he doesn't want to reveal. Who knows? Violence or suicide, or I don't know. You don't want to just bulldoze your way through a family like that. But I'm going to take a guess and say that this is not the only season we're going to see this couple on, right? And on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. On the other hand, I'm like, I don't want to suffer through years and years of just seeing this happen all over again. We got to some semblance of the end of the story with Jenny and Sumit, and to see it happening all over again.
क्या तेरे दिमाग में है?
नहीं, अभी उसके साथ में इतना टाइम स्पेंड किया है तो अब उसको भी उससे बात करने में भी थोड़ा सा वो होगा।
उनको तो और मिल जाएंगे भाई बराबरी के। हाथ जोड़कर मना कर देंगे। हद हो गई ऋषि।
And I think I was saying this with Sumit as well, that maybe Rishi was thinking, some people, for example, they will have a sexual dalliance and wonder if they contracted an STI, but they're too afraid of getting a positive result that they won't even take the test. They're concerned, but they're so afraid of getting an indicator that they actually do have an STI that I don't want to take that as, it's just going into denial. And no one is benefited by that, obviously. So I wonder if Rishi was in that state as well, just like he knew what they would say. But he just, as long as he never opened up that box, he would never find out what was on it on the inside. It could always be something else. The cat could be alive. And until he opens the box, there's just no way to know for sure. And he kept putting it off because he just knew that he was going to be put in a position of someone is going to suffer. Either he's going to suffer because he has to reject his family, which I think is almost an impossibility for him and people like Sumit, or he has to break up with Jen, or he has to stay in this weird limbo and trick Jen into staying in this weird limbo or something. So he could have just been avoiding, which isn't great, but understandable.
ठीक है।
Yeah. And another factor is that when you have these kinds of rigid parenting styles, and I don't want to, I don't know much of anything about Indian culture and parenting, but I can speak from my cultural pocket. And when you do have overly rigid parenting styles that carry on into early adulthood, the adult child can sometimes have arrested development. They don't fully develop into a competent, responsible adult who has full empathy and can differentiate and make good, sound decisions, because they're kept at bay in terms of their development and maturity, because they're not allowed to live their life. They're not allowed to make their own choices and to make their own mistakes and learn from them. And so they don't have the opportunity to learn how to manage things, and they act like children. They act like teenagers would. Teenagers lie to their parents. They tell their parents, I'm going to spend the night at Jenny's house, but they go to, I don't know, they go to Bridget's house, and Bridget's the bad girl on the other side of town, and she has parties, and sometimes she drinks a beer and smokes a cigarette. And you don't tell your parents, I'm going to Jennifer's house. She's a good Christian girl. And then you call Jennifer and you say, okay, if my parents call, say that I'm at your house, okay? And then you go to Bridget's house and you smoke a cigarette. And then you come home and you don't say anything. And kids understand that, and parents know that maybe that sort of stuff is happening and hope that it's not too bad. And it's understood. As a kid, you don't usually feel bad, because you know that in order to live your life as a teenager, you have to cut some corners sometimes. It's not great, and not every kid does this, of course. But not every parent pushes their kids into a situation like that, So if you are like that for the adult child's entire life, the adult child never steps into a place of like, okay, I need to take control of my life. I have to act responsibly. I have to consider everyone around me. I have to take control. I have to, step up to the plate and actually figure out a plan here. What am I going to do? How am I going to manage this? What am I going to say? How am I going to tell the truth? What's my plan? What's my approach? How can I take care of everyone and also manage this on my own, And then the way that he might even come across to his family might be, and Sumit would do this too, I think, might come across as immature. He tells the parents, and the parents are like, no, because I don't know, because it's a cultural difference. But for me, like this happened to me when I was a teenager. My parents actually confronted me about, what were they confronting me about? I think they were just getting more concerned about my behavior of some sort. And I sat them down. I remember at 16, 17 or something, or maybe 15, I just had this epiphany that, and I don't know how I knew this, maybe someone told me, that my parents were trying to control me, or they were leaning into discipline and micromanaging because they were worried I was going to screw things up. And they saw indications of bad behavior or breaking the rules or something. And so I felt that I knew how to handle myself within reason for that age. And I actually sat my parents down. I'm guessing y'all could imagine this given the way you probably see me, but I want to remind everyone that I was definitely a 15-year-old. And if you met me when I was 15, you would have no problem saying, oh my God, that is a 15-year-old immature child. So I wasn't, don't imagine me. Imagine just a typical snotty, sarcastic, shy, know-it-all 15-year-old who definitely did not know it all. And I sat my parents down and I said, I know that you're worried about me, but let me tell you, you don't have anything to worry about. I might dabble in this and that, but I don't do really bad things. I don't do really unsafe things that you would be afraid of. Now, I don't know how honest I was entirely with them, but I don't know. I felt like I was being honest, and they bought it. And I think part of it was just because my delivery. I delivered it. And when I would talk to my, I did a lot, in my early career, I did a lot of family therapy, and there's a lot of teenagers that I would work with. And this would be one of the things that I would try to get the teenagers to do, because a lot of the ways, teenagers sometimes will be actually not doing that much bad things, but because they seem to be indicating bad things and the parents are worried, they get all controlling. And the kid, in reaction to that, will just be like, "God, this is so stupid." And that's what kids do. But adults, when they're having things happen to them, they say, "Hey, I get it. I got it. It makes sense that you're like this. What do you want to know? Because I can reassure you that I'm not doing this and that." Because what some teenagers will do is they'll be like, well, if you're going to control me, then I'm going to stay out all night and drink, and that's exactly why they don't want you to have freedom, because of that kind of irresponsible behavior, right? But if you just rise to the occasion, you're like, hey, you know what? I get it. You're right to be afraid. There's a lot of bad things in the world, but here, let me tell you my decision-making process. And you say it in as mature and as differentiated and grown-up way as possible. So it's possible that if the Rishis and the Sumits were allowed to grow up, they would actually have a side of them. Because, when you think about the Rishi story arc, you could say that he's kind of like a 16-year-old who's like hiding from his parents and not even the way he treats Jen and the behavior and the flirting online, there's a lot of teenageness. Sumit, you could also see that as well. So when you're constantly controlling, yes, you are protecting them, but you're never allowing them to grow up and take control and then to approach the parents in a way that will actually give you confidence that you don't need to micromanage them all the time. Anyway, so if Rishi had gone to the parents or the mom right now and just said, hey, let me tell you this and that. Let me, I don't know if it'll change your mind, but there's this, there's that, there's this. Because I'm guessing Rishi doesn't necessarily want to have kids. And I'm thinking Rishi is in love with Jen. And I'm thinking that Rishi believes that he can handle this, that he knows what might work. Rishi might even say to his mom, look, when the family members have questions, I am going to answer their questions. And I'm going to take control, and I'm going to bring Jen around, and you will get to know her. Something like that. But what he does is he's, but maybe in his culture I can't know. Maybe that would be even more disrespectful if he did something like that. I don't know. But I do feel bad for him because, yeah. I just wish that Jen and her friends would have just gone to Rishi and gave him a chit. But we all know he wouldn't have told his mom. So, yeah. I think the theme is that his tears are justified because his 3-year set of lies have finally come to roost. And he now has to deal with reality.
I know, I know Indian families. I know their mentality. The age matter from the beginning is going to be a big concern. That's why I wanted to spend more time.
Spend more time avoiding? More time makes it even worse to some extent because she gets older over time, right? I don't know. Let's hear what he says here. He wants more time for what? I think in his head, he has this delusion that if he had more time to warm them up to it, I don't know. And maybe that's true.
Maybe if my parents will not find out anything before the 2nd of August, the astrologer time, maybe things become different.
I can't see it. I just cannot see that on August 2nd, because 2 planets aligned or switched places in the sky in relation to the Earth, that somehow that would change the culture of the parents and the family. I just can't really see that.
She loved me so much, and she moved here. She did a lot for me. I love her a lot. So that's why I'm in a very hard situation right now.
Yeah. The way I see it is Rishi is a victim of an old tradition that, in my extremely humble colonizer opinion, should change. Right? There's no harm. There are certain things in life that we should be shaming people and preventing people from doing. It just feels very similar to, you get old enough, you start seeing these themes in societies. And the theme that this reminds me of is in the 80s and the 90s, I would see parents believing they're doing good. And this happens today, but it was almost universal in the 80s and 90s, when someone came out as gay and they wanted to have a relationship with someone, and they might even want to marry someone. And the parents would be like, no, this is for your own good. This is a sin, or you're going to be bullied, or you're not going to be able to have kids. They would say all the same things. It's unnatural. No one's going to accept this. The church, their family, no one's going to. It smells like that. This notion of like, she's how old? No. No, that's just not going to work. And it is forbidden. End of story. We all understand this. It's set in stone. For what? Why? Give me the reasons. Because he can't have kids. Okay? Does he want to have kids? Is that important? Why? What's the difference? A lot of people don't have kids. A lot of people don't have kids. Not apparently in India, but certainly around the world. And how many Indians would not have kids if they were allowed to? I don't know. Let me look it up. Okay, there's a lot of research all over the board, but people who don't have children in India is estimated to be around 2.5%. Apparently, I think that's a lot lower. I think something like in the United States, it's like a fifth of people. Yeah, and of course you have to go by age group, right? Because the younger you are in adulthood, the less likelihood that you're going to have kids. But according to this study from 2018, if you look at women who don't have children, who are between the age of 35 and 39, 20% of that group don't have kids. So yeah, it's more in the United States, but there's a lot of people in India who don't have kids. So anyway, it's just upsetting that he has to suffer. He's being victimized in my view by a weird adherence to a rigid tradition. It'd be fine if you're a parent, you'd be like, I just always wish that you have kids, or I want you to be happy. And I thought maybe you wanted to have kids. What if you want to have kids? You can talk about that. You can express that. You can wonder about that. What if the age difference is too big and you don't actually relate to each other and you fall out of love one day? Okay, you can have these worries. You can worry. You can even propose some ideas of things. But to just it's just a flat out no. She's how old? No. 48? No, never. No one will ever agree. And if you go ahead with this, we will disown you and everyone will hate you. And they will, the community will disown us. We will be I'm just going off of what, Sumit's family were saying. I'm just going to take a guess and say that this is similar to that. I don't know. And it's just sad that Rishi has to suffer this way. Seeing this scene, it really puts into perspective everything that we've seen from Rishi thus far.
Everything is like ruin.
Yeah. Just imagine that position that he's in. He either has to give up the love of his life. He has to give up. So he's forced with, I either have to give up my love for Jen and disappoint her and hurt her. I don't want to hurt her. I don't want to lose her. Okay, that's huge. That's huge, right? Or if I stay with Jen, my family will hate me and I will be a disgrace and I will cause suffering to my mother. I will cause her to cry herself to sleep every night. I will force her to reject me and to disown me. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but something along those lines. I will force her to feel ashamed of herself. I will hurt my mom. I will destroy my mom. I will throw everything away in my family. The most important thing to me. I'll move out and disappoint, and they'll be left here alone. I won't be here to take care of them. That's the decision that he's under. It's like, yeah, it's impossible. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.